everyone, I'm Don Pratt, host of a show here on Rogers TV where we give you a perspective of police in your community. Welcome to Policing York Region. Today I've got an incredible opportunity, and it's with 3 District, with James Woodcock at 3 District. He's a detective sergeant in the detective's office. Jim, thanks so much for being on the show.
Morning, Don. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, it's we've had some great conversations, and even as late through a DCLC meeting, you were part of a presentation that gave us some great oversight at what 3 District looks like in our community, and really that's what the premise of this show is going to be: is let's chat about 3 District. And One thing that we get to do here is assure people how safe Georgina actually is.
Right. Georgina is a unique part of York Region. It's the top end with a beautiful populace, as well as a beautiful district in itself. It is a very safe community. It is a very tight-knit community, and the officers here, a great number actually live in the area, but take pride in not only serving the citizens, but living, working, and enjoying the town of Georgina in itself.
Actually, and that's a very good topic to start off with. That you use the words tight-knit, a tight-knit community, and it is just that. We actually, as community members, we get to learn who our officers are, as well as our officers get to learn who we are, don't they? Absolutely,
and we encourage that. The command staff here, Superintendent Aarons, is very involved not only with the community, but encourages that of all the officers here to get out and be a part of it, get out and talk to people, and not just obviously from a professional standpoint, but be one in part in the community. It goes back to the throwbacks of the police are the public and the public are the police. When you have those good relationships and you build that trust, you not only do you keep that trust, but it goes both ways, and then the community will talk to us if there's issues. And if there are issues, we want to know about it, and we want to do our job and help people. So once again, it's a great idea of being part of the community and interacting in order to solve any problems that arise.
And that's really one of our greater roles as volunteers in the community, is to bridge that first interaction with police as a friendly one, right? It doesn't always have to be a negative approach. It can be, hey, meet your local officer, meet the people that are keeping our community safe.
Absolutely. And again, not only do we encourage it, if somebody has a general question about policing or York Regional Police at any time, please feel free to reach out, walk up to an officer, have a chat. We actually encourage our officers, when they're doing notes or typing reports in their cruiser, to be out in the open and be in the public eye. A lot of times you'll see an officer say, we'll go with the common view of in front of a Tim Hortons having a coffee.
Yes.
There is nothing wrong, and in fact, we encourage it. And I can tell you from my experience, the officers up here love it when members of the community come up and have a chat with them, even if it's just something as simple as about the weather or the accident that happened last week, or something to do with an upcoming event. It's one of the greatest bridge building is the ability to just come and talk to us and, hey, have a look inside of the car, have a chat, ask about the uniform. We love it. The officers up here have a genuine interest in their community and being a part of it.
Yeah, no, and that's great to see. That's great to know. So tell us a little bit about 3 District. Let's start with what makes up 3 District.
Well, 3 District in itself is commanded by, as I said earlier, by Superintendent Maria Aarons. She is the superintendent in charge of all of 3 District. That encompasses, as it stands, 66 uniform officers. We also have 2 additional officers on top of that are involved in secondments with the district itself. Our Criminal Investigations Bureau, which I'm the bureau commander of, I have a total of 21 officers under my command. That includes detectives and detective constables, with 2 officers loaned to us from uniform for a project, which we'd like to talk about a little later on regarding Project Ambassador. The Marine Unit in itself has a brand new facility on the lake. Again, public, please drop by when you can during the day hours. It's commanded by Staff Sergeant Aaron Busby and 9 other officers involved in operations enforcing criminal code statutes, the Canada Shipping Act, as well as provincial statutes. And has the capability not only of summer deployment, but also winter deployment as well, and involved in ice rescue operations. Our core unit is commanded by Sergeant Malcolm McPherson, and he has 5 officers under his command, and they address specific community complaints, such things as speeding, complaints about anything in traffic involved, possibly some issues involving any type of complaints regarding commercial properties as well as residential. He's also been tasked as well with local EMAC complaints in terms of emergency measures that have happened in the wonderful, unfortunate pandemic that we're all experiencing and affected by. Malcolm is tasked with looking into those incidents, as well as working with our partners in the town of Georgina and Public Health Canada. Civilian part of our district, we have 3 civilians that work in the building, 2 administrative assistants, as well as a facilities operator. Should note that our actual deployment, which everybody sees a police car driving around for the number 3 district in the town of Georgina. During the day shift, there are 7 cars deployed. They're divided into 2 areas, and that also would not include a patrol sergeant, who would also be deployed as well. We have a 3 to 3 car. The 3 to 3 car starts at 3 p.m. And the reason we have a 3 to 3 car is to help cover off, because we found most calls generally happen later in the afternoon, and helps cover off when there's a shift change. So that leads us into our night shift, where we actually go down a car. The only reason that we go down a car is we're intelligence-led policing, and we, of course, follow where the calls go. If the calls are going down, then obviously we reduce our deployment in that regard. So we have to have a minimum of 6. Now, that's our, I'd just like to point out, Don, those are our minimums. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're at minimums. There's times as well where we have more officers working. So the public should never be concerned about that there isn't enough police resources in the area. That's just what our district mandate, and the Superintendent Aarons has said, no, we're going to have this minimum no matter what. So at any time, regardless, there will always be that a minimum amount of police officers deployed within the district.
Right, and something to add to that, you know, as far as when you're saying minimum numbers and who's, you know, how many people you have on the road, you also have the opportunity of shared resources with other areas of the agency, right?
That's correct. So if something were to happen, because we're no different than any other organization, people get sick, people are on training, what have you, people can be moved over to different parts of the organization, and at points that we could go down cars where we would below minimum. Now, again, to rest assured to the public, that does not affect at all. We have the real-time operations center that we immediately go to when we notice that we are down cars. The real-time operations center then goes throughout the region and redeploys resources where needed. So that means that if, for argument's sake, somebody called in sick on a night shift and we were down a car could be redirected, say, from Vaughan and redeployed into Georgina. So there's never, ever a time where resources are actually down. There's always a redeployment and resource sharing, because it has happened where cars from 3 districts had extra ones and then have turned around and gone down to Markham or to 1 district. So it works both ways, always to ensure that the community is safe and secure.
Right. Yeah. So as far as your boundaries, so when we talk about districts, York Regional Police is made up of 5 different districts. Where are your boundaries within that district?
Sure. So we go as far east as the York-Durham town line, over towards Durham region. The north, obviously, when we get to water, we stop there.
Yes.
However, that's where the Marine Unit takes over.
Right.
And we do, as you can see on the map here, we encompass and surround a large part of the lake. As far west as Fox Island and east over past Georgine Island. And to the south, most common misconception is everybody thinks that our district ends at Ravenshoe, and in fact it doesn't. We actually encompass a significant part of the town of East Gwillimbury. And we actually go down a bit further than that and encompass areas of the village of Maple Hill. And to the west, obviously, as well as to the lake and into the majority of Cooks Bay. Also policed by the Marine Unit as well on the waterway.
Yeah, and with the Marine Unit, I mean, we're talking about the entire. Well, I guess a major portion of Lake Simcoe, but they're not limited to just that one portion.
No, they're not. So the Marine Unit itself, as we saw on the map there, has a significant part of the lake. There are also can be asked to assist other neighboring agencies such as the Oakland-Peaberry Police, South Simcoe Police, and in terms of operations, rescue operations, enforcement as well. However, the Marine Unit is also unique in that at this time of year, obviously, a little colder, a little bit of ice storm. They'll have the ability to go on the lake, but they also have the abilities where they're also on the ATVs, and soon when there's enough snow around, they'll be out on the trails as well.
Jim, I got to get you to hold there just for a minute. We're going to shoot over to a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about some of the activity that's going on in Georgina. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our conversation with Jim Woodcock up at 3 District. And Jim, we've been having some great conversations about basically what everything looks like in 3 District. I want to chat about some of the activity that's going on in Georgina. Can we just we jump into that just for a sec?
Sure. We actually have, York Regional Police has access and has invested in a tool called the Business Intelligence Tool, and it goes to our intelligence-led policing as well as our reporting of our activities. We have provided a slide there in terms of our district officer and activity report. And on this, we have broken down, and we have the advantage of utilizing this tool where I can actually account for what happens exactly in Georgina as to each officer's actions and each officer's deployment calls for service. We have literally hundreds upon hundreds of stats that we could go over. But the average person just wants to know what's going on and to let you know. And so far in this year, at this point, we've had over 260 calls for service that were generated by officers. We've been dispatched to, at this point, 28,161 calls. And of course, most people want to know in terms of whether or not we're out there enforcing traffic and criminal code statutes. I can tell the audience that, yes, so far this year, although we are down, again, because of such things as COVID, we're over 5,000 tickets and 1,200 arrests. And that's just to this point until 2020. Time and time again, what the public always wants to know about is what we're doing in terms of traffic safety. In terms of our distribution of traffic enforcement, this year alone, we've had 5,563 noted instances where we've issued either warnings, we've issued Part 1 summonses, which is a traffic ticket, or a Part 3 summons where you would have to go to court, and that's 5,563. The vast majority, over 60% of those offenses are always have been in relation to speeding. The next most common one is disobey stop sign and then fail to have an insurance card. And then it cascades down from there to various instances. Also, still another one is the most common complaint. We had 142 instances of handheld driving while having a handheld communication device, a cell phone. There's always the great person at the intersection who's always looking down into their lap. And that's usually an indication that they're checking out their cell phone. So that's their most greatest in terms of traffic enforcement are in relation to speeding and then cascading down. Crime is always a big concern for all residents here.
Of course.
As to what's going on in terms of the crime call types. I can tell our audience that 2020 has been unique, and our crime call types are actually down this year in specific areas. We have a statistic where we noted and found that at the start of the lockdown, there was some decreases in our crime call types, and that has to do with plain and simple fact that everybody has been affected by the 2020 coronavirus pandemic. We've seen a 1.87% variance and reduction, and as you can see, though, towards the summer months, though, our calls for service actually jumped again, as noticed, between July and then dropped again in August and then jumped again in September. It has to do with the coming back on the reopening of Ontario in particular. Our 5-year average, though, however, we're still pretty steady at that trend. In terms of the majority of crimes so far noted to this point, the actual events of crimes, the vast majority are still crimes against property. That could be everything from damage to a mailbox to somebody having their car entered to actual willful damage of property, followed by then crimes against persons. The most vast majority of crimes against persons so far this year, we've had 376 assaults. Now, assault, I should just point out, Don, can be everything from a push all the way up to a punch or something involving a weapon. So it can be something relatively minor, obviously not minor to the person or the victim that's been affected, but all the way up to and including something quite damaging. That also can be stranger on stranger. It can also be intimate partners as well. Crimes against property, the vast majority are either mischief, as I alluded to earlier, or the theft under 5,000. That can be something as simple as shoplifting or just somebody's drinking being taken. And again, also vehicle entries, which are also a concern for community partners. Total events so far this year are 3,041 instances of crimes reported to us. I should note from this time last year, they're actually up slightly from 2,566 calls for service. Now, in particular crime trend, though, and the next slide is in regards to the majority of our instances of shoplifting have actually decreased, and they decreased significantly. We have noticed some trends in terms of Shoppers Drug Mart and Walmart where there have been significant thefts. However, the decrease of 103% is quite noticeable. And again, we're going back to the pandemic and the fact that we were in for a major shutdown for the longest time of reported instances.
Right.
What's noted, I should put out, one of the big concerns the community's reported in terms of our crime trends has to be vehicle entries. We did make some arrests earlier in the year, in particular in the south end of Georgina and the Keswick area, in and around Simcoe Landing area, where we arrested a couple parties and recovered a significant quantity of property. This has to do with the vehicle entries. What we do find is every time that we do make arrests, in particular to vehicle entries, we recover a significant amount of property. And unfortunately, it's frustrating us because we want to get this property back to the rightful owners. But we find that the dark figure here of crime happens, whereas somebody comes out to go to work in the morning, finds their car's been entered. Geez, my sunglasses are gone, what have you, and don't think it's worth reporting to the police. It is worth reporting to the police. Every year I've seen great quantities of property that we've recovered from persons that have been arrested and it ends up being going to auction because unfortunately we can't get it back to the right owner because it hasn't been reported. So I ask that if you've had a minor entry, even if it's a minor entry, please report it because you never know, and we'd love to be able to get that back to you.
Well, and it's a very simple process too, right? We don't actually even need to call the police. There's an online process.
Thanks, Don. That's actually what I'd also like to highlight is it's not like you would have to, you can obviously, but you can report it online. It's an online reporting tool, and you can report a simple 5 minutes. You can be your own officer and take your own report.
That's right. That's right.
And it'll be documented and be sent to my office, and our crimes against property crime officers will investigate it and also log it and look at trends to look at hopefully and possibly getting your property back for you. It's
and you know, it's a thought that I want to capitalize on a little bit because I do think that there's a bit of a misnomer out there. You know, why would I bother reporting it? Like it's just some loose change. It's just some CDs or a pack of smokes or some loose change, what have you. The reality is, if you don't know about it, you can't do anything about it.
Absolutely. And we want to know about it. We, again, it goes back to the whole piece where our guys on the road and our investigators love it when we make arrests and grab these guys that are doing this stuff because they're human too. They've had their cars gone through and they want to be able to not only catch these guys, but as I said, get it back to the rightful owners. But if we don't know about it, I can't do anything about it.
No, and it goes back to this could actually be a whole show all on its own, but it actually goes back to what you have in your database. If you have an area that has been prevalent and you hear a lot of cars have been getting gone through, then you can focus your energies on that, right?
Absolutely. We can again, going back to that, what I showed earlier with our business intelligence model, we'll utilize a crime analyst who will say, hey, this area in particular around, say, Woodbine and Raven-Shoe, Leslie and Raven-Shoe, it's getting hit pretty hard in terms of car entries. We can divert not only uniform patrols to significantly go into the area more often, but also engage property crime members as well, and what we call as old clothes or plain clothes to engage and investigate and look for signs of entry in that area.
Right. So we're always talking about crime trends, and what changes. One of the things we've been hearing an awful lot about up in Georgina is fentanyl and drug offenses.
Yes. The fentanyl opioid crisis is nationwide. Yes. We hear a lot about it, obviously, in the media, and Georgina is no exception. Between July 1st and November 28th, we've actually had 15 drug overdoses in the town of Georgina. And it's
what was that time span again? Where were we talking about as far as timing?
So the dates between that are July 1st and November 28th.
And we've had 15 overdoses. Wow.
Yeah. So we've had drug overdoses, and unfortunately and tragically we've had also 3 deaths resulting from these overdoses, and it's directly related to the opioid fentanyl. Fentanyl is a powerful drug, and it's used legitimately for pain management, chronic pain management, as well as for such things as treating horses for pain as well. A minute quantity of fentanyl is deadly. However, if the user uses it, it can also produce an incredible high. And unfortunately, we have members of the public that want to try and use fentanyl. So far this year, we've identified 101 drug offenses. And because of those stats, as I said, about the overdoses and the unfortunate deaths, we've the calls for service, we've also identified a very potent called blue fentanyl and purple fentanyl in many of these instances, and it's very potent. The most common question that I hear from people is how are people getting this? How are people securing this from legitimate companies? The companies themselves that produce it, as well as get it to pharmacies. It's also being produced illegally,
Yes.
synthesized, in different parts of the region or within Toronto or in surrounding York region, and then it's brought in by dealers, unfortunately. As a result of this, however, our office, the Property Crime Unit, initiated what's called this Project Ambassador and Project Homecoming. Now, from that, we've executed 11 search warrants. And we made.
Okay, we're wrapping right into the last 15 seconds or so, Jim.
Okay.
I mean, all of a sudden, here we are. This has been phenomenal information, but I want to be able to share with the viewers where we can go to get more information.
Sure, absolutely. In terms of information on opioids and opioid use, there's not only you can go to Health Canada websites, you can go to the York Regional Police main website at yrp.ca.
And that's the one that we talk about the most, yrp.ca. And from there, we can probably get all the information we need or be directed to, right? Jim,
Absolutely.
I got to thank you so much for coming on the show. We have to continue this conversation another time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
I'd love to.
Thank you.